Hey everybody, I'm Jorge from fantasyandframes.com, and welcome to our first recorded mock draft of the 2020 fantasy football season. This week we're going to be doing a 10-team half PPR draft. The roster construction is going to be slightly different than you're probably used to. We're going to have one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, two flex spots, and 6 bench spots. That's right, no kickers, no defense, no IDPs. The purpose of this mock draft, as well as all the other subsequent mock drafts we're going to be having here at Fantasy and Frames, is to basically help you understand the theory behind why we are picking the players that we're picking. It's one thing to look on a cheat sheet and see that, oh, X player is ranked above that player, therefore I shall take that player. Fantasy football doesn't work like that. You have to know the why behind what you're doing in order to be successful playing this game. So this week we're going to have a bunch of us from the Fantasy and Frames family taking part in this mock draft, as well as a couple industry folk and a couple fantasy football fans. Because at the end of the day here at Fantasy and Frames, we want to make sure that the fan is taken care of, whether you're a novice fan or an experienced fan. Look, there's always something you can learn to help get yourself to be better at something. And that definitely is involved in fantasy football. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody who's going to be participating today in the mock draft. I'm going to start off with Aaron Pags. You may know him at Fantasy Triage on Twitter. He's our Major League Baseball editor-in-chief here at Fantasy and Frames. He also does a lot of work with fantasy football content here. Aaron, how are you doing this evening?
It's a beautiful night to save fantasy football lives, mock draft style. Excited to be here. Can't wait to kick this draft off. Let's get it done.
Nice. Next we have Jeremy Noble. Jeremy, how are you doing?
Living the dream. Can't wait. Excited for fantasy football season starting now.
Nice. So Jeremy and Aaron are both co-hosts on Fourth and Frames, our fantasy football podcast. Next, turn it over to Ken Sonnenberg, who's been with us since day one at Fantasy and Frames. Ken, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, Jorge. It's a wonderful night, and I'm sitting here, and I got my classic Mark Bavaro jersey on because, go all 80s style here.
Nice.
I'm doing great. Great to be here. It's great to first fantasy draft of the year, and it's awesome.
Nice. Very nice. All right, David Gutierrez, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First off, I remembered to unmute myself. That's good. It's good to formally introduce myself to you guys. This is my second podcast ever, so I haven't really met anybody. Yeah, my heart is beating like crazy. It's funny how much we care about an imaginary game, huh? But I'm a writer. I started picking up the waiver column for Jorge last year. Looking forward to do it again this year. Still not sure if he reached out to me because I have glasses or because he actually thought I was a good writer. But either way, I'm part of the team now, so there's no looking back. I also have my own website, gurufantasyworld.blogspot.com. I'm really trying to grow that and eventually build it as my goal is the world's largest free encyclopedia of fantasy football strategies. So
Nice, dude.
That's me.
Very cool. Now, the next person here at Fantasy and Frames who I'm going to introduce, I really shouldn't be introducing because, truth be told, he is Zooming while driving, trying to get back home to participate in this mock draft. So, dare I, Mr. Nate Markham, how are you doing today? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm doing fantastic, Jorge. Obviously, it shows the level of dedication that I have. Most importantly, it shows that I am willing to drive and mock draft and still feel comfortable that I can draft a very poor team. And now I have a built-in excuse. So none the better.
Very nice. Mr. Todd Barnes, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're on mute. There we go. We got our first mute thing of the day. All right.
All right, there we go.
Everybody drink.
Started the day off good.
I'm better than the vet. Yes.
You can find me on Twitter at Todd1006. I recently started writing baseball, the columns at Fantasy and Frames, specifically on pitchers. So I've been having a blast doing that, and I'm just ready for baseball season to start. But while this quarantine's going on, it's never too early to draft fantasy football.
Amen, brother. Mr.
We're
Ryan
soon going
White.
to have a discussion about that Phillies hat, though.
All right, easy baseball fans, easy.
I'm actually a diehard Yankee fan, but I rock a lot.
Oh, my God, you just got worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you set yourself up for that one, Todd. All right, Mr. Ryan Weiss, how are you doing this evening? Drink again, everybody.
I tried to click it and hit the wrong button. So I'm doing fantastic, Jorge. Thanks for having me. I'm Ryan Weiss, a writer for the Fantasy Footballers. You can find all my stuff on Twitter at the Fantasy5. 5 is spelled out. I do defense and stat count articles for the Ballers during the season and write about a little bit of everything when it's not the season. So.
Nice. Well, welcome to our mock draft today. David Ibrahim, please introduce yourself.
What's good, Jorge? Just firstly, I keep waiting to hear the sound of screeching tires from Nate's Nate's thing, but hopefully we're still good. David Ibrahim, owner and founder of fantasygo.com. It is your one-stop shop to get personalized advice for your fantasy team. Connect with your favorite analysts at fantasygo.com. Actually, I think a few of the peeps on here might be analysts. I know Ryan is, and obviously you guys are Fantasy and Frame, so check it out.
Nice. And the next two people I want to introduce are, they're people like you, 4A fans out there. They're fantasy football fans. Truth be told, Nate Markham hosted a Zoom meeting where a bunch of us here at Fantasy Frames were able to watch the draft together. We met these two individuals, really cool guys. They love fantasy football. Tyson, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you like fantasy football?
Sure, great, Jorge. First off, I'm glad that I have you fooled, that you think that I'm a pretty cool guy. So that's a good start. First off, I want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. This is definitely going to be a learning experience for me. I definitely fall in the novice category, but I'll be interested to kind of pick your brains as you guys make your picks and hopefully add some insight from a fan's perspective.
Sounds good. And last but not least, Kurt, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a fantasy football novice. I play a lot of fantasy football, but I don't win a lot of fantasy football. So I'm the perfect person to have in a league. Looking forward to kind of getting some insight on draft picks and kind of maybe where I've gone wrong in the past and just learn as much as I can and have as much fun as I can. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, gentlemen, are we ready to mock draft?
Do it.
Okay. One head nod works. Okay, fantastic. I'm about to begin the draft. I'm going to now share the screen with all you 4A fans out there. Everyone can see the screen now. And the draft is commencing. Nate Markham, you are on the board with Christian McCaffrey. Okay. Nate, don't die driving home the rest of the way. Ryan, you are now on the clock. When you make your pick, tell us who you're picking. He's taking Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, with Christian McCaffrey off the board, Saquon Barkley's logical pick for me there.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Michael Thomas.
Okay.
And I'm taking a guy who gets nothing but volume, and I'm excited about him pounding the rock with 3 of the top wide receivers of the league. That's Zeke Elliott.
Ken, you're muted.
Wait, there I am. Okay. Technology. So now I got to figure out what happened to my screen here. All right.
Yep, technology, Ken.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
We're just like you.
There you go. All right. With the 5th pick in the draft, I am Manning Elite is the name of my team. We are going to throw the first curveball of the draft. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Ravens fan, I respect it.
Let's stop that. Let's stop this.
Do I have to?
Oh, wait a minute.
Here? Like.
There you go. There's the alarm.
It's coming.
Ken, tell us why you're taking Lamar Jackson, number 5 overall in this draft.
All right. Anybody who listens to the Fantasy and Frames podcast has heard me talk about this, that questioning the feasibility of whether you draft Lamar Jackson in the first round. Obviously, the thought of drafting a quarterback in the first round has become taboo in the recent years in fantasy football. But as always, my thought process has been that Lamar Jackson, the year that he had last year was such an incredible year. I mean, it was maybe the greatest year fantasy football wise for a quarterback in the history of fantasy quarterbacks. He ran, and not only did he throw for 3,100 yards and 36 touchdowns and only had 6 interceptions, but he had 1,206 yards rushing, which in the NFL put him, what was it, sixth in the NFL in rushing of everybody, including running backs. So to have him there and also, to have him there. So my thought was also this. He was about 80 points ahead. I'm using the fantasy data half-point PPR or half PPR. I did it again. Half PPR scoring model. He was about 80 points ahead of the second-place quarterback, which was Dak Prescott. I know you guys, everybody likes to group the quarterbacks, and you can get quarterbacks later because the difference between them is pretty minimal. But my thought is this: even if he took a 10%, 20% step back in his total point output, which he's going to, because it's going to be hard to match that output that he had last year. But even if he took even a 20% cutback in his points, he's still far and ahead better than every quarterback that's out there. And the only other quarterback that would have to match that would have to have a career year also. So looking at that, Lamar Jackson, 5th overall in the first round, taking the flyer that my man in Baltimore is going to have another bomb season.
Nice. Ryan, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this.
It's not my favorite pick. Now, to give Ken credit, there is one thing, and we talked a lot about the beginning of this, about helping people learn. In a 10-team in a smaller league, this isn't the worst possible thing you could do, because there's a ton of talent to go around in a 10-team league. So Ken's going to still be able to land running backs and wide receivers, especially wide receiver. Wide receiver is such a deep position in fantasy football this year. So it's not going to hurt you in the long run. And there's nothing more important. And it's something that I try to tell everybody I work with: get your guy. If you believe Lamar Jackson is the guy, and why wouldn't you? You brought up a very good point. He was the number 6 rusher in the NFL. If I came to you and said, hey, in the first round, would you take the number 6 rusher in the NFL? By the way, he's also going to score 40 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure your answer is going to be yes every single time. So the only thing is, having been around this as long as I have, you probably could have waited a round or two and still landed Lamar with no issue. But it's not a gamble you're willing to take, because you want to make sure you get him on your team. So get your guy.
Now, one other thing that I will point out is, it's got to also be a little bit, when you're doing your fantasy draft, it's also got to be strategic. So maybe if I was in Nate's position where I'm first, and then since it's a snake draft and I won't be picking for another 19 picks, I might not have done it. But sitting in the middle of the first round where I only have to wait about another 10 picks or 10 picks, I think. I felt that it was probably a gamble worth taking for that.
Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. All right, so we got Lamar Jackson off the board. Kurt, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Who is your pick?
I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara with the 6th pick.
All right. Todd, you're up next.
And I'm going to stay at the running back position and snag Dalvin Cook.
All right, David. Terry, you're muted. I'll do this for you. Yep.
There we go. Give the rookie a little bit of slack here. All right. I got past it the first time. All right. I don't know if you guys are gonna give me any trouble for this pick, but I'm going for Kenyon Drake.
Oh my God! How do you get sniped in round 1? Oh my!
Oh man!
I really like Drake after last year. I mean, he was the 3rd running back behind Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry from his time in Arizona. So I think adding Hopkins helps. I don't think it's going to really hurt him. If anything, it should open up the run game even more. I think they were first last year in yards before contact for running backs. So I'm not worried about Chase Edmonds and Eno Benjamin. I think he's a workhorse. I'm going Kenyon Drake.
Aaron, you are beside yourself.
I cannot believe, like, stunned that Kenyon Drake was not on the board for my pick here at 9. Wow, like, and let's let the cat out of the bag here. Like, Kenyon Drake is my top running back target in drafts here at the top or the back end of round 1. 10 team, 12 team, 15 team, 14 team, however many teams. Kenyon Drake, and David put it perfectly. Like, there's no competition. This guy, once he came over from Miami, he dominated the backfield. I mean, he just got the ball at an elite rate. He was the bell cow in Arizona, and Arizona doubled down. They didn't take a running back in the draft until the 7th round. Like, this guy, his upside is unbelievable. And in a 10-team draft like this, wow. I mean, like, if you want to talk about separating yourself, and Ryan mentioned this in the 10-teamer, like, you need, everyone's going to be really tightly packed, lots of superstars. And if you got a guy that you want to get, you got to go get him. And the guy I wanted to get was Kenyon Drake. And wow, okay, well, I guess it's time to go to the backup plan, and I'll take Julio Jones. Too consistent, too good to be still there. So I'll take Julio.
All right, Jeremy, your pick.
Can I take Julio? Will it let me?
I will round out the first round here with one of Aaron's favorite running backs that we talked about on our podcast, and that would be the monster in Cleveland that is Mr. Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb off the board.
Just quickly, Nate looks like he's on the Blair Witch Project trying to run to his computer.
Yes, he is out of the car, folks. He is safe and sound. Thank goodness.
Unfortunately, I ended up home where my wife is having a party with her friends, so now I got to find a closet to hide into so I don't have to disrupt everybody.
No, Nate, I think you wanted to say it's fortunate that you've ended up home versus the other alternative.
I will say, after Lamar Jackson and Kenyon Drake, there was almost squeeching of the tires just a little bit, because I expected maybe both of them to even hint possibly back around where I was looking at the 2021 turn.
Nice. Jeremy, did you make your pick already?
I did in my head, apparently, but not in the app. So I swear I'm capable of doing this, people.
The befuddled look on his face is priceless.
Exactly.
Oh, come on. There we are. I'm sorry, everyone.
Dead air. Dead air.
There we go.
You have back-to-back picks, Jeremy. Who are you thinking at this, 1-2 turn here?
I do, and there are some really tantalizing wide receivers on the board, but going back to something Ryan said before about wide receiver just being so deep, I want to come out of the first 2 rounds, especially at the turn when I thought I was going to be staring at probably a Julio and another stud wide receiver. I can get 2 stud running backs. There are a couple obvious choices, but I'm going to take someone who I think is going to benefit greatly, more so than even the wide receivers, from the new number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. I'm going to pick Mr. Joe Mixon.
Yes, great pick.
It's a solid pick. Good receiving upside, especially for half PPR league. All right, Aaron, you're back on the clock again.
Yeah, I can't let more running backs go off the board. Got a long way till it comes back to me. I'm going to take Derrick Henry. I'll go boring. Julio and Derrick Henry, first 2 rounds.
Okay, Derrick Henry. Let me put that in for you. Derrick Henry. All right. David Gutierrez, you're now up. Who are you taking?
This guy's always probably my target in round 2 in almost every draft. Going Travis Kelce.
Ooh, the number 1 receiving target, I guess, quote unquote, for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, I don't know if he's number 1, but he has a big receiving target, so that's pretty smart for half PPR. Todd, who you got?
I'm gonna go ahead and take my man Aaron Jones. They did draft another running back in Green Bay, but man, Aaron Jones is talented. So I'm gonna stick with him. Go running back heavy too, because I mean, and especially with 2 flexes, I think I'm going to definitely try to stack up on some running backs.
Very nice, very nice.
Can
Kurt?
we as a fantasy community just pay some grievances, the fact that we have to once again free Aaron Jones? I don't know. I'm just very mad about this.
Yeah, he's actually my keeper in one of my leagues that I'm in. That's been going on 10 years. He's my keeper, and the draft did not make me happy.
Very nice. All right, Kurt, who are you taking round 2?
All right, I'll stick with the running back theme. As a Raiders fan, I've got the Charles Woodson jersey on today.
Nice.
I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he's going to benefit huge with the addition of Ruggs. Teams were able to load the box against him last year, and he still ran the ball well. Ruggs is one that can take the top off of a defense, so they're not going to be able to crowd the line against Jacobs. They've got a good offensive line there. I think he's going to see improved numbers from next year. So we're going Josh Jacobs.
All right, sounds good.
Ryan, I'm sure you're devastated. That's your boy right there, yeah?
I've landed him in so many drafts, and then I was salivating that he was going to get back to me at 2-9. Such a great pick, and he is going to be so good this year.
Sorry, couldn't let him pass.
Yeah.
All right, Ken, who are you taking now? There's no kickers. There's no defenses for you to take in round 2.
I can still take another quarterback, right?
I mean,
no, I only-
technically you
I only
could.
one.
Absolutely, you can, Ken.
Right. All right. So with this pick, who I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins. So we talked earlier about Kenyon Drake having a great season when he came over from Miami. It was a really good thing that Arizona was able to pawn off David Johnson onto somebody. You know, they were able to get some scraps for David Johnson. You know, so
It's true.
DeAndre Hopkins he probably has a lot better receivers around him this year that he's had in past. You know, with what's his name, Christian Kirk, and the ageless Larry Fitzgerald, and also with Kyler Murray throwing to him and Drake in the backfield. I think that's going to open up a lot of offense for DeAndre Hopkins.
Nice. All right, David, other David, where are you going with this? You're muted, David. I like everybody who has
There we
a scramble for the button as they're looking on video. That's great. Okay.
I was toying between going with Kittle or wide receiver running back here just because the depth at running back and tight end obviously drops pretty substantially, but I can't go past Devonta Adams, especially considering how amazingly the Packers drafted this year. Not taking any offensive weapons. I say that sarcastically. So it's got to be Adams. There's no one to soak up those targets. So I'm very excited to grab him in the second round.
A lot of people are saying he could potentially lead the league in terms of wide receiver touchdowns because of the fact that the Packers have not addressed the receiver position. I mean, makes sense to me. Tyson, who are you taking in round 2?
Sure. I'm actually going to take Melvin Gordon. My concern is obviously taking a wide receiver in the third pick. I'm concerned about obviously getting quality running backs as we move along. So I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon.
Interesting. Aaron, what are your thoughts on him taking Melvin Gordon in the second round?
Man, Philip Lindsay's still there, obviously. Gordon missed a little chunk of last year. When he came back, I don't know if he didn't truly look like himself or if Austin Eckler just established himself in that offense. And that really hurt the Melvin Gordon stock. I think he's going to an offense that will likely probably rely on the run with a young quarterback. I think he's in a good position. Remember, it was only like 2 years ago where maybe 2.5 seasons ago where everyone was in love with Melvin Gordon. All he did was catch passes and score touchdowns. It really was not that long ago. This guy's not like some broken down back or anything like that. So I think if he can carve out a good role in that offense, I think, he is a very good running back. And I think he just needs to have the right situation in that offense.
All right, sounds good. Ryan, you took Saquon Barkley in round 1. Who are you taking in round 2?
Well, speaking of guys in the right situation, I'm going to take Tom Brady slot wide receiver, Chris Godwin.
Ooh. Yeah, him and Mike Evans, they soaked up targets last year in Tampa Bay, and Godwin really came into his own. I don't know if Godwin will still be the slot wide receiver in Tampa Bay, but if that's the case, that will definitely help his value with Tom Brady throwing him the ball. Good pick. Nate, who are you taking?
Well, am I muted? Am I good?
You're
You're
good.
good.
Hey, all right. Not too bad. I'm finally getting back in the rest mode. And I'm honestly, one of the things that I think we all like to try to do is separate our heart and our biases from our fantasy team. But when you're staring at potentially the upside of the number 1 wide receiver overall, and he happens to play for your hometown team, or at least your favorite team, it's easy to be excited both sides of that. And I'm going to snag Tyreek Hill, who, the superlatives I can continue to go on, but, obviously barring injury last year, he had a per game pace to exceed pretty much everybody that's not named Michael Thomas. But for my next pick, this is where in a 10-team format, realistically, not to give away any type of advice or my strategy, but wide receiver is so extremely deep. I'm going to go with the person who, in my opinion, has the opportunity to be one of the top wide receiving backs in the league. He's clearly without Melvin Gordon there. I'm not too worried about Justin Jackson. I'm not too worried about I am a little worried about Tyrod Taylor, but I'm hoping that just means a lot more checkdowns. I'm going Austin Eckler. Half-point PPR. I got, 200 receptions out of Eckler and McCaffrey. I'll take that.
I love
You
it.
told me you were a Chiefs fan. You passed up Mahomes.
I'm a Chiefs
I
fan,
don't
but I'm
believe
also I'm not a big fan of I don't like taking the quarterback too early. And I do respect what Ryan said earlier about the 10-team league. You can distance yourself because the value of the players does extend a little bit deeper. But I love Mahomes, but I like the lack of depth at running back come around pick 40, 50 that's going to be there considering.
Jorge, yourself, Aaron, and Jeremy, remember we were on a podcast about a few weeks ago, and I think I'm the only person in the United States of America who does not believe in Austin Eckler. Prior to last year, even though he put up incredible stats, he could not surpass 400 yards catching, and I'm just very worried, depending on whether it's Tyrod or Herbert under center. I don't know, man. If it is Tyrod, he's going to be stealing a lot of those what were little dump-off catches. So, look, I hope I'm wrong, but Austin Eckler just has me a little bit worried.
And then there's reports coming out today or yesterday that Anthony Lynn was talking about utilizing a multi-back approach in Los Angeles for the Chargers. So I don't know whether that's just like a smoke screen, as most coaches are probably setting off right now and getting ready for the regular season, or not. Something to be concerned about, but there is definitely PPR or half PPR upside in this situation. Ryan, we're back to you. Who are you taking in round 3?
Grab Eagles running back, Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders. You're buying the hype behind Miles Sanders. Explain to us why, please.
100%. Well, right now, the Eagles are a team that are always going to spread the football around anyway, but he's far better than Boston Scott. He's far better than, I think, Terran Sproles is still there. There's major concern that they're going to go after Devontae Freeman. Freeman and he are going to play very well together. Jordan Howard had 130 carries last year. Sanders looked so good to end the year as they started feeding him more and more of the offense. The new NFL, there's not a lot of bell cow backs. I already have one of them in Saquon Barkley. If I can land Sanders as my RB2 in a half-point PPR league, he's going to be involved in that offense, and I think he's going to be a solid producer.
Nice.
If I can back up Sanders real quick, because I totally agree with what Ryan said. Two things that I think are important to remember about the Eagles offense. One, I, as a diehard Eagles fan, cannot name you who the number 2 wide receiver was on the Eagles by the end of the year. So there's no way that there is less opportunity, I think, for Sanders to actually see less defense coming his way because they're actually able to spread the ball. And 2, Doug Peterson's offense, yeah, they're going to share the ball around, but I would dare say he's right up there with Andy Reid in terms of getting efficiency out of his fantasy football players. So even if you don't have the same amount of opportunities, I think you get a better chance at efficiency with Doug Peterson than, say, maybe Adam Gase.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Tyson, who are you taking now?
Sure. So I feel like I'm in kind of a tough situation because, as Nate mentioned, I mean, running backs, do I take a running back here coming back around, further down into the draft here, or do I kind of try to get best man on the board, in my opinion? And for right now, I think that I'm going to kind of buy the Tom Brady hype as well. I feel like, since Brady's there, they're gonna throw the ball around the field quite a bit, and I'm going to go ahead and go with Mike Evans.
All right, David Ibrahim, who are you taking? You're muted again.
I did it again. For those who remember this movie in the mid '90s, and I'm ashamed to say it, those who watch Clueless, I'm going to be bringing in those vibes and rolling with the homies. I love this. I love Patrick Mahomes at this position because even though people say that quarterback position is deep, I get it. But there's 2 guys who you just cannot emulate, being Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. If I can get one of those 2 guys and know that at that position, I don't have to be scrambling about whether I got a good quality QB, I'll take that all day long.
That might be the best reference I've heard all month. Fantastic. Ken, who are you going now with? Ken, are you muted?
No, I was just looking for the mute button. I'm here. All right. So after starting with a quarterback and a wide receiver, I figured that I gotta spread the wealth out, and seeing this guy, and we always have to worry about the health issues, but I think maybe he got it. He might have gotten it, the health issues and the attitude issues. He may have gotten it all together after last year. I'm gonna go with Leonard Fournette.
Ooh, okay. Now they're definitely trying to get rid of him, but so I guess if he's trying to impress his next team, this would be the year to do it. Kurt, who are you taking now?
Well, sorry for pausing the screen earlier. I had to get my son into bed there. He's pretty excited about my first 2 picks, so understandably so. I need to go wide receiver here. Looking at, it's a tough call for me on this one, but I think I'm going to go Adam Thielen here. He loses Stephon Diggs. If the season is short, and I know that they added the new wide receiver as well, I always struggle to depend on rookie wide receivers, and plus they don't have the time to really work together in the offseason like normal. So I think Thielen's going to see a heavy load here, so I'm going with him.
All right, Todd, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and take Amari Cooper. I actually love that Cowboys offense, and especially this is going to be Kellen Moore's 2nd year. So I think just what they did last year is only going to get better. So
you're not worried about CeeDee Lamb being there? I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, who soaked up 137 targets, right?
Yeah, but Randall Cobb's also left, so CeeDee Lamb coming in there. And, I mean, Amari Cooper's the Cowboys led the league in drop passes last year, and Amari Cooper is one of the most sure-handed guys in the league. So no matter what, he's going to get his balls. And, I mean, I don't see top 10 wide receiver. I could see that all day.
I mean, I think the thing with Amari Cooper, and I think we can all agree, is that there's always been the quote-unquote P word, meaning potential. But there are instances where he drops off. I personally, despite the CeeDee Lamb drafting, I'm still beating the Michael Gallup drum. I still think he's in for a big year, potentially overtaking Amari as wide receiver 1. That being said, when looking at your wide receiver options, you are trying to establish, on your roster, a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, that is a way to go. That's definitely a way to go. David Gutierrez, what are your thoughts? Or excuse me, who are you picking now?
Guy I'm picking here, honestly, I think he would probably be off the board in the second round if Sleeper had updated their rankings a little bit more and we didn't have to scroll down to see him. I think that's the only reason he's still here. I'm picking Jonathan Taylor. I mean, half-point PPR, third round. That's smash button to me.
I mean, running behind the second best offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. Yeah, there's Marlon Mack there, but they don't invest a draft pick like that in Jonathan Taylor and not expect to give him a majority of the work there. That makes a lot of sense. Now we're back to Aaron. Aaron, who are you thinking about taking?
George Kittle.
Just quick.
Oh, go
Just
ahead.
quickly,
Yeah.
sorry, I was going to say I'm a believer in Marlon Mack. I feel like people are writing him off way too much, like Jonathan Taylor's coming in and stealing his job as a 3-down back. I mean, Marlon Mack was still relatively efficient last year. I can see him being a 1-2 tandem, but can you guys really see JT coming in and just being a workhorse?
Well, I guess it comes down to his receiving upside. So if Jonathan Taylor is able to, take care of that aspect of the running game out of the backfield, yeah, I can kind of see him do that. If he's just another Marlon Mack and then they cede third downs to Naheem Hines, then I kind of think, yeah, there's more of a tendency to have a split backfield in that case. That's just my opinion there. But no, I mean, I can understand your concerns there. Aaron, we're getting close to wrapping up the third round. I'll try and keep the pace going a little bit faster. Who are you thinking about taking at 3-9?
Okay, I'm going to take George Kittle, and I was thinking about taking a running back here, but this is just a little bit of maybe a pointer for picking kind of the bread in the sandwich on the turn. I know that Jeremy's already taken 2 running backs, and so likely he's likely not looking at running back here. Maybe a wide receiver or a tight end is someone that he would be looking at to take, and so by me taking the tight end here and Jeremy banging out his 2 picks, I can't imagine he takes 2 running backs. So I line up 2 running backs after that, and Jeremy can either make the pick for me and leave me with 1, or, I'll have my pick of my 2 when we come back around. So just a little bit of strategy when you're drafting just before the player at the end. Know their needs, know who they've drafted recently, kind of keep an eye on their team, and that will help you strategize. That's why I'm taking George Kittle here.
All right, Jeremy, who are you taking at 3-10?
Well, don't worry, Aaron. I'm going to bang out 2 quarterbacks here instead. I love some of the running backs that are left on the board here. I got to at least with one of these get my first wide receiver. Give me Kenny Bills, Mr. Kenny Galladay all day. Love him. Think Stafford's in for a big bounce back here. And then for my second pick, here's where there's a running back here I beat the drum for all the time. That said, because I can put this person in my flex, I want to go with someone with some huge potential upside here at running back. I'm going to take the other fantasy stud rookie on the precipice, Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Now that's the name I'm surprised has lasted as long as it did, especially with Mr. Nate Markham being the resident Chiefs fan here at Fantasy and Frames. All right, Aaron, who are you going for 4-2?
Okay. Sometimes you need to just kind of take a quick pivot and look around at the other teams too on the backside coming by. I feel like there's one clear quarterback that's left up at the top here, and that's Deshaun Watson. And so I'm going to take Deshaun Watson, steal him from all the folks coming down the line.
Nice. All right, David Gutierrez, who are you taking now?
Yeah, I think I was kind of hoping Clyde would fall there a little bit too. The only reason he fell that far is because it's half-point PPR, and we're really hyping him up for the receiving ability. So that's kind of, I feel like, where he slides a little bit in the half point. If it was full point PPR, I would have taken him over Taylor with my first pick. Now I'm probably going to just go with Cooper Kupp. Half point PPR, again, not thrilled with the pick. I was hoping for a running back. I'm not thrilled with any of the running backs there. Not thrilled with any of the other wide receivers really on the board. So I'm just going to go with the guy who I think is going to see a ton of volume. Kupp loves him in the red zone too. So that's my guy.
All right, Todd, who are you taking now?
I'm going to go with who I think is going to be one of my steals in this draft, Allen Robinson.
Ooh, target monster. Very cool.
Yeah, he finished last year as wide receiver 8, and in my books, he got an upgrade at the quarterback position this year. So, I mean, I see wide receiver 1 potential in that pick right there.
Very nice, especially lasting all the way to the 4th round. It's very cool. Kurt, who are you taking?
I was hoping Kenny Galladay was coming back to me. That was who I was debating with Thielen on last round, but I'm going to go wide receiver again. I'm looking at, let's go with Deebo Samuel.
Debo putting a lot of faith in the second-year wide receiver from San Francisco. All right. Ken, excuse me, who are you taking? And check if you're on mute.
Nope, I know it. I am going to go with running back. I'm going to go running back. Sorry, I skipped. So what happens when I do like three things at the same time? He was running back 11 last year in Seattle. I'm going Chris Carson.
Criminally underrated Chris Carson on an offense that loves the run ball. Especially, I love that pick.
Love. That's who I was thinking about on the turn. Boring pick, but it's going to be, I love it, Ken. Love it.
If he's healthy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I guess that's what it all comes down to, if he's healthy. David Abraham, who are you taking now?
Now, I'm going to take a guy. I'm going to give him a chance just to see if he can have a bounce-back season, even though they just signed a veteran behind him, a guy who was, I believe, there when they invented fire, Frank Gore, but I'm going to take the number one running back there, and that's Lev Bell. I believe he's going to have a bit of a bounce-back. If I can get him in the fourth as my RB2, I'm totally okay with that.
You're putting a lot of trust into the Adam Gase. You realize that?
Yeah, it's not smart, is it?
I mean,
right.
The talent is there though, and the receiving upside is there as well for Le'Veon Bell if he, if that's the case. Todd, who are you taking? Not Todd. Excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good. I've been called worse. I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm the running backs are kind of worrying me here. But I'm going to go ahead and pick James Conner.
Okay, so you're hoping that he kind of bounces back and maybe
Correct.
is a little bit more healthy this year than he has been in the previous years. Okay,
That's right.
They didn't really draft a incumbent to replace him, so I guess that makes a lot of sense there. Okay, solid pick. Ryan, who are you taking?
I guess I'll stick with my theme of second-year running backs I think are going to improve and grab Devin Singletary.
So you're not worried by Zach Moss being drafted?
Again, Frank Gore. Zach Moss is going to slide right into that Frank Gore role, and even with Frank Gore there, Devin Singletary showed what he could do. He's going to be the receiving back by far. It's going to be fun. Not worried.
Nice. All right, Nate, who are you taking?
Well, would worry if we're talking about look at running back, and obviously opportunity plus talent equals production, and opportunity should be there. The biggest concern is, I'll say the word knees, and everybody knows who I'm talking about now, is Todd Gurley. He went into one of the better offenses as far as competition. What is it, Ito Smith? Realistically, there's not much there in the way of, I guess I should make that pick since I need to get onto the app. Sorry, y'all. It's not my favorite pick in the world, but I'm looking at just touches. I'm looking at red zone attempts. I don't see anybody really necessarily taking that from him. Sorry, guys. A little slow on this. And realistically, as we've said for the last 3 rounds, and it's funny we keep saying this, is that running backs keep drying up, but yet I look at that 4th round and I see, 4 different ones that theoretically could be legitimate RB1s. But at this point, I think now it's just kind of are you going to hit the right one? And so now, as much as I'm not a fan, even this early, he was the QB6 last year, and I think he didn't have necessarily what many would say is the sexiest season of all. But I think Kyler Murray's in for a really opportunistic season this year. I love the dual threat, of course, and weapons galore. That offense should have plenty of plays. And this is a mock draft, so what's the worst that can happen?
We mock you.
You can mock me. But
Ryan.
I was hoping Todd Gurley would come to me at the turn, but I'm a big fan of Gurley. Even though he had surgery and got his knees replaced with pillows. I still think he's an incredible talent. 12 touchdowns on the ground, 2 in the air, average 70.1 scrimmage yards every game. He's going to a better offensive line. The Rams had the 31st best, however you want to slice and dice it, 31st ranked offensive line in the league. So I'm a big fan of that Todd Gurley pick, just a FYI.
In the second half of the season, he was averaging close to 17 fantasy points a game in half PPR scoring last year. So like you said, going to a better offensive line. I don't hate that pick, Nate. I thought that's a very
Thank you. That's
good pick.
good to know.
Ryan, who are you taking in round 5?
Oh, you guys have made it very tough because there's a guy I planned on taking here, but someone else shouldn't be here right now. So I will fill a need, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a guy who I do see bouncing back this season as well, and that is T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y., yes. So any concerns about health, or do you think that that's kind of?
No, I actually wrote an article about T.Y. Hilton for the Fantasy Footballers a few weeks ago and consulted with Matthew Betts, who is the physical therapist that works with the Ballers. It's an injury that he should be able to bounce back from. And then this is a team with Phillip Rivers. T.Y. Hilton is going to be the guy. You have Paris Campbell, who's supposed to play the slot. You have the rookie Michael Pittman, who's going to be on the outside. T.Y. Hilton is going to be everywhere they need him, and he's going to be the guy that Phillip Rivers can lean on. He's going to be a target monster. So,
Very nice. All right, going back to the draft board. David, who are you taking? You're on mute again.
It's not me.
Nah, it's Tyson.
Oh, Tyson. I keep messing up. The host needs to stop drinking. Tyson, who are you taking?
No worries.
Todd this time.
Being kind of the novice that I am, I do find the psychology of sports in general interesting. So while this may be a little bit of a reach, I do believe in elite players sometimes needing a push. And with quarterbacks kind of starting to go off the board a little bit, I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to have a bounce back year with the Packers drafting Love. So I'm going to take a flyer on Aaron Rodgers.
Do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed off and just suck it and chuck it to everybody?
I do. I do believe that, great players, and he's historically been, obviously great over his career. I think that sometimes as they get older, and they see somebody in their rearview mirror, they've got something to prove. And I feel like Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to, if anything, he's going to do everything he can, obviously, to prove and kind of spit in the face of the ownership.
Aaron, really quick, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers going in round 5 behind Kyler Murray?
Oh, man. How can you hate on Aaron Rodgers? You can't. Like Tyson was saying, that's a really good point. You put a little – I don't think Aaron Rodgers needs a fire underneath him. I don't think he needs any extra motivation. I think that if Devontae Adams is on the field the full season, that's going to help out Aaron Rodgers. Of course, Aaron Jones is a weapon out of the backfield. I can't hate the pick. There's a reason why I grabbed Deshaun Watson headed back in round 4 is because I think Watson is clearly better than these guys, and I think everyone will be looking quarterback here shortly, and so that's why I grabbed Watson.
Yeah, very cool. All right, now David, excuse me, who are you taking?
Okay, so I was trying to find Nathan Peterman. I could not find him. So my backup pick here is the big man, the bookend. It's the guy who Booger McFarlane compares to a pumpkin spice latte. It's Decaf Metcalf. I believe he is going to surpass Lockett as the number 1 receiver. He's a big body receiver. His last half of the season was incredible. I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
It was amazing what he did in that Philadelphia playoff game as well. Solid pick right there. Ken, who are you taking?
All right, this is the point in the draft where I gotta just hold my. I gotta be calm. I gotta think with my head and not with my heart. So with that, I see a what's a bounce back. I mean, I don't know if it was a bad season, but for him it was a bad season. So a bounce back. OBJ, baby.
I mean, he has been talking a lot about this is going to be his best year. Stefanski comes over from Minnesota. I mean, this better be a bounce back year. Ryan, you're a Browns fan, I believe, but what are your thoughts on OBJ?
Not necessarily a Browns fan. My
Oh,
big, but I am from Northeast Ohio. And my biggest concern with OBJ is you could say last year was a down year. Obviously, he's a great player. In that down year, he was targeted 2 more times per game than any wide receiver on the Minnesota Vikings. And Kevin Stefanski comes over from the Vikings and is going to bring that offense. I'm worried about how much pie there's going to be cut up in Cleveland.
But the one thing about that also that I like is what the Browns have also done on their offensive line, bringing Jack Conklin in from Tennessee, drafting Jedrick Wills in the first round this year. So Mayfield is going to have time this year. Yes, you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, and you have Jarvis Landry on the other side. But I think that all speaks well and all is good signs for OBJ having a really breakout year, a better year, a comeback year. Let's call it that.
as well as a bounce back for the Browns offense as a whole. Kurt, who are you taking?
All right, I'm gonna go with another running back here. Might be a little bit of a reach here. I'm gonna go with David Johnson. Hoping he's fully recovered from that injury. The Houston Texans gave their running backs almost 400 touches last year. So that's a lot of work for them. So maybe it's quantity over quality here, but I'm going to go with David Johnson.
Now, Ryan, one of your fellow writers for the Fantasy Football, stepmom Lauren Carpenter, put out an article a few weeks ago talking about all the faith she has in David Johnson. We had her on Fourth and Frames talking about David Johnson. I'm right there with her. And I'm sure a lot of you are as well. I believe that David Johnson has a great opportunity. You know, you throw in the fact that this is going to be half PPR type of league. The receptions are there. You look at the reception work or the receiving work he had under Cliff Kingsbury. You know, before he got hurt, he was averaging enough fantasy points to be, I think, the top 3 in fantasy points per game among all running backs just out of the backfield in the receiving game. You know, with the volume that he's probably going to get in Houston in the running game, plus the receiving work, yeah, especially right here in a dual flex type of format. I love the pick right there. Todd, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and take Mark Ingram. I mean, he plays for the Ravens. They rush the ball almost 100 times more than any other team did in the league. And he scored 10 touchdowns last year. So I think opportunity is key in this spot. I mean, he's going to get his fair share of touches. And then I think when it comes down to the goal line, you're going to see a good amount of touchdowns from Mark Ingram this season.
No, that makes, you know, a lot of people are just leaving him for dead. Yeah, I get he's 31, but he was very productive last year. And technically he's quote unquote still the starter on an offense that, you know, features a mobile quarterback, which always benefits the running back position. You know, the resident Ravens fan, David Gutierrez, before you make your pick, I want to know what you think about Mark Ingram.
If I was going to pick a Ravens back, it wouldn't have been Mark Ingram right there. I'll just say that.
Wow.
I think Dobbins overtakes him by probably week 6. I love Ingram. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Ravens fan. I think he's a great guy, sturdy veteran. I think Dobbins at this point in their careers, Dobbins is just too talented to just be sitting on the bench. So I would have taken.
Don't forget, you still got Gus Edwards. I know people laugh when I say that, but last year he had 133 carries for 788 yards, I believe it was. His touchdown production wasn't there, but that's a lot of times handing off the ball, and I just can't see them kicking him to the curb.
I mean, there are a lot of mouths to feed in that backfield in Baltimore. Now, David Gutierrez, who are you taking in round 5?
It's tempting to take Dobbins right there, and I almost want to do it just to have Ingram and Dobbins go back to back. I'm going to be honest. I'm hoping Dobbins gets back to me on the swing. We'll see. I'm going to go with another guy who I have a lot of confidence in. I think Kyle Shanahan is just right now kind of figuring out what he has with this dude. Last year wasn't a fluke. I think we're going to see more 30, 40 points. Would he have 50 points in one of those playoff games? I mean, this guy is going to go crazy this year. I think Raheem Mostert.
Good pick.
Friend of the podcast, Bob Lung, we even gave him a nickname, Jeremy, if you remember, Raheem Lung. That just tells you how much he loves Raheem Mostert. Normally you'd be scared of the backfield committee in San Francisco, but they started to disassemble that committee by trading Matt Breida to the Dolphins. Maybe Shanahan is starting to realize, here, let me lean on the alpha here in this backfield. No, I like the pick. All right, Aaron, who are you taking?
Here's the guy I want on every single one of my fantasy teams. Elite speed, elite catch radius, the number one guy. Emmanuel Sanders is out of town. Cortland Sutton, lock it in. This guy has got top 5 overall wide receiver written all over him.
Really, even with the addition of Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler?
Yes, that only helps him. That only having guys who need to be covered by other guys, so Cortland Sutton doesn't get over the top coverage on every single play. Like I said, 4.54 speed. He catches everything. The man is, like I said, I can't say it harder enough than this. Like top 5 overall wide receiver in 2020.
All right, Jeremy, who are you taking?
Well, I was going to take Cortland Sutton. Oh, man. I love everything.
I finally got you, Jeremy. Finally.
I thought you were going to do it with Nick Chubb in the first round, too. All right. Pivoting. Well, I do want a second wide receiver because it's important to have more than one. But I'm going to go with the more boring pick. And I actually be curious to hear Jorge, Aaron, Ryan, anyone, their thoughts on DJ Moore now with a new quarterback under center.
I love it.
I'll jump in with Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson being field stretchers on the outside and more likely to play the underneath slot role. I think it's going to be perfect, especially if what we've seen lately of Teddy Bridgewater ends up being true, where he's adverse to the deep ball. DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey are going to soak up targets in an offense that should be wide open. I'm looking forward to it this year.
100% agree. I think his average depth of target, meaning Teddy Bridgewater's last year, was the second lowest in the league. Favors that slot role. You get rid of Greg Olsen, who's no longer there. There's more opportunities there. Short to intermediate passes. Favors DJ Moore. Love it. Aaron, who you take? Oh, Jeremy, you still have another pick. Who are you taking?
Yeah, give me a chance to snipe Aaron here, please.
Right.
Although I don't think I'm going to, because I'm looking at roster construction. This is, again, a point Aaron said, I think, well, he took Deshaun Watson. I think there's one quarterback left in an elite tier. I know Jorge absolutely loves this guy, and he just got loaded up with yet more weapons. Give me Mr. Dak Prescott to start off round
Great
6.
pick.
Oh, I love Dak Prescott. I have him in my top 3 quarterbacks this year. I'm a Redskins fan. My wife's a Cowboys fan. Don't tell her. Okay. I have Dak Prescott in the top 3, but I'm a big fan of Dak going in this year. Right, Aaron, who are you taking now?
Gonna take like a post-hype guy, someone that folks targeted pretty early last year, and he didn't pan out. And obviously, I'm thin on running back here, only having Derrick Henry in my back pocket so far. So I'm gonna take a shot. Hope I can hit on this guy. I'm gonna take David Montgomery.
David Montgomery. He got plenty of volume last year. They just couldn't, or he was on the field for enough run snaps last year, but they just didn't translate. It's interesting. Hopefully that they're able to do something with that. That's a good call. David Gutierrez, who are you taking?
I wasn't lying. I'm gonna go Dobbins here. I feel like if I take a wide receiver here, I would just be forcing it because I'd be desperate for a second wide receiver. But I look at how many are still available, and I feel like I can wait to 7-8 and 8-3 and grab probably 2 still solid wide receivers that I like there. And hopefully one of them hits. So I don't have any problem taking my 4th running back before my second wide receiver at all.
All right, so as we're getting close to the middle of the 6th round, let's just start increasing the pace a little bit because we got to get to 14 rounds tonight. And so just tell us who you're taking, and then we'll just go right to the next person. And then if there's any need to stop and explain a pick, I will do that. I'll interject. But let's just let's increase the pace a little bit, gentlemen. Todd, who are you taking
Yes,
now?
sir.
I'm going to go ahead and take one of my favorite wide receivers of the season, A.J. Brown.
Nice. Kurt?
I am going to go with Calvin Ridley.
Nice. Very nice pick there. Ken, who are you taking? Mute, Ken. Ken
Yeah, sorry. Was again doing like 2 things at the same time. was going to do one thing, but I'm going to switch it. I'm going Robert Woods.
Bobby Trees. All right. David Ibrahim, who are you taking?
Taking a guy who, although not too consistent, is still a PPR monster, and that's Keenan Allen.
Great pick.
Yeah, nice pick. Tyson, who are you taking?
I think I'm going to go ahead and go with Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs going. All right, let me talk about that for just a little bit. You know, I think personally, Diggs going to Buffalo helps Allen more than it helps Diggs. But you're thinking his talent in Buffalo maybe is the reason why you're going to go with
Yeah,
that?
that's exactly right. You know, obviously being a Vikings fan, I like what Diggs brought to the table with the Vikings, and I think that you know, Thielen with the Vikings, you know, they played kind of against each other in a way, and I feel like Diggs has again something to prove in Buffalo, and I think that's a solid pick on my end on that at where we at now.
All right, Ryan, who are you taking?
Go ahead and give me Tyler Lockett.
Lockett. All right, Nate Markham, who are you taking to round 6?
We'll take the my number 3 tight end, Mark Andrews. He's in my opinion, outside of Kittle and Kelsey, he's in a tier by himself. And then at that,
in Baltimore last year.
Pardon me?
It was the #1 targeted option in Baltimore last year.
It doesn't hurt, right?
Nope, does not hurt one bit.
And then, you know, despite the fact that I'll just hear what you guys say. Maybe I might be. I'm a big fan of Tyler Boyd this year. I'm taking Tyler Boyd.
So Tyler Boyd, you know, 2 years ago when AJ Green was healthy, you know, he was targeted a lot. Tyler Boyd, that is, and he had a really good yard after catch per reception, meaning once he got the ball, he was actually able to do something with it and turn it upfield. Last year, he was peppered with a lot of targets, but without having AJ Green there on the outside to distract defenders, once he caught the ball, he couldn't really go anywhere with him because defenders were already all over him to begin with. You bring back a healthy AJ Green, they draft Higgins, I believe.
Right.
These are stretchers that makes sense to me. Ryan.
And he's in the slot with and where did Justin Jefferson play the majority of his snaps from last year in the slot? And Joe Burrow has a tendency to obviously focus on that. Now that might be a stretch, but at the same time, we got to find some reason to draft a person. Sorry.
Nice. Ryan, what's your reason to draft the person you're about to draft?
Because I just got horribly sniped. I had been waiting on Mark Andrews for about 3 rounds. I just submitted an article today that Mark Andrews will be the tight end 1, but I kept seeing Zach Ertz on the board and was like, I can wait. I couldn't wait, apparently. So I'll have to settle for the best wide receiver in Philly, but.
Tyson, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and take Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack, you think you're agreeing with David Ibrahim that Marlon Mack could still be something?
You sniped me.
Yeah, kind of taking a flyer.
Nice. David?
Oh, well, obviously I was going to go with my boy Mac, but
He sniped the 2 guys after him.
I know, he's not me, but yeah, look, I do not like Sam I Am, but I do like AJ Green, Eggs, and Ham. I personally believe that he comes back to form and becomes a top 10 wide receiver this year. He's had a whole year to ride that bench and get healthy. I see him coming back to form.
If I could just interject, Jorge, just for like 1 second.
Yeah, go for it.
So we're in this 7th round, right? We're getting close to the middle of the draft. And I don't want to speak for anybody who's drafting here, but at this stage, if you hit on a guy like AJ Green, the advantage you have over your competition is immense. AJ Green, of course, is got all the talent in the world. And so to be able to take a chance here on a guy like that, who, if he's on the field, he has just performed at an elite level. That's an awesome pick. That's my favorite pick so far in the draft.
And that's the thing, as my wide receiver 4, I'm okay to take the risk. You know, with Devonta Adams, Keenan Allen, assuming the half PPR, with DK Metcalf getting the long yards, it's a risk I'm willing to take anyway.
Very nice. Ken, who are you taking? Mute, Ken.
All right. Having sniped Marlon Mack from me also kind of threw me into a little bit of a confused state, as you can all tell.
Yes.
So Right now, I'm going to take a little bit of a flyer on this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I know. It's
Always one for the dramatic.
Seriously.
it.
Well, who'd you take?
And I am going to take Devonta Freeman.
The teamless Devonta Freeman.
Interesting.
You know
Bold
he's
strategy,
gonna
Cotton.
land.
Bold strategy.
Oh, crap.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how that pays off.
Yeah.
Kurt, who are you taking?
I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster. I believe they're moving him back to the slot. You get Big Ben back. I think he's good for a bounce back. So if he can be my fourth wide receiver, I'll grab him.
Jeremy gave you the angry air drums there. The real angry air drums.
Literally what Aaron said about AJ Green. Like, that is how I feel about Juju. Oh,
Yeah,
man, I couldn't believe he slid.
Agreed, 100%.
I missed Juju, to be honest. I did not realize he was there. That is an absolute bargain in the 7th round.
Absolutely. Todd, who you taking, buddy?
I'm going to go ahead and grab the number 16 wide receiver from last season and DJ Chark.
DJ Chark. Okay, I want you.
Do.
Can I just ask real quick of that Freeman pick, where are you expecting him to land to take him that high?
Which community college?
I don't think Ken was thinking, to be honest.
To be honest with you, I got flustered. I got the Marlon Mack sniping got me flustered.
Tilt.
So this is a good teaching point. We've heard Ken several times say that he's focusing on multiple things at once while drafting. Don't do that.
Yeah.
When you're drafting, focus on drafting. David Gutierrez, Cam Akers, like that pick. Very, very good upside there.
Three rookies. I was not going in here trying to do that, but I guess that's how it's going.
I mean, especially for the dual flex positions, loading up on these running backs if they hit. Kudos to you, sir. Okay, Aaron, who you taking, man?
Interesting. Only 8 running backs have rushed for more yards than this guy over the last 2 seasons. I think he's still the de facto number 1 back here, even with Melvin Gordon in town. I'm taking Philip Lindsay.
Philip Lindsay, okay. Jeremy, who you taking?
I'm going to take somebody who's going to be a PPR machine. I don't think last year his breakout year was a fluke. And I don't care who's under center. Give me Devonta Parker.
Ooh, really? You don't really? Okay.
I mean, if you want to talk for a minute, I mean, Fitzmagic obviously is a real thing, but I don't. Frankly, I think Devonta Parker has been, we know, just waiting to be get out from. We've mentioned Adam Gase like 17 times under his wings. Had a great year. I think there's more talent on that Miami Dolphins team in general from a fantasy perspective than people are going to give them credit for, because real life, who knows? I don't actually think they play Tua. And if Tua doesn't come in, it's at least not for the first 4 or 5 weeks. So I will keep that Fitzmagic train going with Devonta Parker for at least 4 to 5 weeks. And if I hear rumors of Tua and I'm getting scared, I ship him off.
Fair enough. There's, being somebody who's, seeing the draft board as a whole, there is one wide receiver here that I am shocked, utterly shocked, has not been taken yet. Maybe.
Well, don't worry, Jorge. I will take him right now. That would be your favorite F1, Terry McLaurin.
That is a hometown favorite, but that was not.
That's solid.
But that is a good pick.
Very solid.
I
know
know
that wasn't who you were thinking about. Interesting.
I know who Jorge's thinking about.
Aaron, who are you taking at 8-2?
Jorge, I'm not. Man. Okay, so here's where you feel like Ken, right? You get a little bit flustered and you're trying to hit on a pick here. I'm skinny still at running back. I don't have a ton of confidence in these guys, so I need to get as many of them as I can, guys who I think can outperform this pick. And I'm going to take a shot in Detroit on DeAndre Swift and hope that the injuries just continue for Kerryon Johnson.
Not that we hope injuries continue for some, but okay.
My fantasy team does.
Dolly Parton has a very big bust, and the second person is Kerryon Johnson. He's an absolute failure. I don't know why people keep believing in him. The dude, I don't think he's surpassed 1,000 yards rushing in his 2 years combined. I don't know. He's just one of those guys people just love, but has never performed. But
Fair enough.
that's my 2 cents.
David Gutierrez, you have one wide receiver. Is this the round?
Yep.
For that?
You know it. I'm tempted to take Hollywood, but I got to take all reliable. I need the guarantee here. Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry, I believe he led the Browns in receptions, or excuse me, in targets over OBJ last year. Todd, who are you taking?
At this point in the draft, I'm going to go upside pick, and I'm going to go with Hollywood. Can't
Hollywood.
pass him up after I just heard his name.
Nice. Kurt, who are you taking?
The Swift pick threw me off there, so I've got to switch courses. I'm going back to the well with the Raiders, and I'm taking Darren Waller, tight end.
Darren Waller. So the addition of Jason Witten, old man Witten, doesn't scare you off one bit?
No. Waller's got the speed. I think once again with Ruggs opening things up, it's going to give him more room to run. And there's one thing Carr loves to do, and that's check down and throw short. So he's still going to get plenty of action.
That's exactly right. Like both Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are people I'm targeting for the Raiders, to be honest with you. Okay, Ken, let's try and focus on a player that is on the team this pick. Who are you taking?
Okay. I have to make up for the disaster of what just happened, and hopefully Devonta will sign with somebody very soon. And
Antonio Brown coming.
Here we go.
He is the highest rated wide receiver remaining on the Sleeper app, I noticed. So
hence Sleeper.
Yeah. No, what I'm going to do, make up for it a little bit, is I'm going to go Ronald Jones in Tampa.
So you think Vaughn's drafting, is not going to hurt Ronald Jones's value? Keyshawn Vaughn?
No, I don't think early. I think Tom Brady's going to want to have a running back that he's comfortable with, that is somewhat of a veteran. I mean, this will be his third year, but he did get better going from his first year to his second year. 724 yards. He had 6 touchdowns. He also had 31 receptions in a half PPR league. At this point in the draft, getting running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield is I believe is a stronger pick than my last running back, the running back I picked in the last round.
This is true. And let's not forget when Bruce Arians was the head coach in Arizona and they drafted David Johnson. During David Johnson's rookie year, he was relegated to punt return duties and kickoff return duties. And they were riding the CJ2K bus all the way until he got injured. And then they finally had to agree to put David Johnson in after Andre Ellington got injured. So where I'm going with that is maybe they don't trust putting in rookie running backs right off the bat. And if that's the case, that's where I could see some value in Ronald Jones in Tampa. But that, for me, is at least the only scenario that would be the case. David Ibrahim, who are you taking on your next pick?
A guy who I think is going to be still an RB1 by the end of the season. I'm not worried about Nick Chubb. It's Kareem Hunt. I do believe that they're going to work him in more. He's too much of a talent to not utilize him as much as they did in the first half of last season.
That's a very good pick. You look at how the fantasy points per game splits were with Nick Chubb before Kareem Hunt and then after Kareem Hunt, and those numbers did come down, and now Kareem Hunt is not suspended this year. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Tyson, who are you taking?
As I get further into the rounds, as I kind of mentioned before, I like to go on feel a little bit. I drafted Mike Evans third round, thinking that they brought Tom Brady in not to hand the ball off. I think that obviously he's going to be chucking the ball a little bit because I don't think they're really going to be ahead a lot of the times. So I'm actually going to take a flyer, and I'm going to go ahead and go with Rob Gronkowski.
Rob Gronkowski in the 8th round. I was wondering when that name was going to be uttered. You know what? If you were going to,
I was waiting for him in the 10th, to be honest, because I'm a big believer, and I know it's controversial, that Evans and Godwin's their catches are going to go down this year. There is no way they brought Brady, they brought Gronk in, and Brady's just going to leave him sitting on the bench. That guy is stealing targets. He's been a fan of Brady's for many years, and it's going to hinder Godwin and Evans. But that's a steal. I was hoping to get him a couple of rounds later, to be honest.
And I also just wanted to kind of throw out as well, in my drafting strategies, I always like to take, 2 targets, 2 options on the same team that I think that are going to, kind of obviously double my chances of getting in the end zone when they're in the red zone. So that's another reason I took Rob Gronkowski.
All right. Ryan, you got 3 running backs, you got 3 wide receivers and a tight end. Is this the round you go quarterback?
Not even close. This is the easiest pick of the draft. Michael Gallup.
Thank you.
Damn it.
Thank you. Finally, thank you. All right, Nate, who are you taking?
Well, not Michael Gallup now. So it feels good, doesn't it? After Mark Andrews pick, vindicated now. So
yeah.
At this point, I'm just going to have to look for – because my wide receiving core between Hill and Boyd, not exactly what I had intended. So I'm going to go upside here with and he's criminally underrated, Marvin Jones.
Ken, during our podcast with Dave Richard, you were talking about Marvin Jones and how he has decent upside playing with Matt Stafford when he's on the field. That's not a horrible pick considering what's left at wide receiver so far. Although there's one other wide receiver I'm a big fan of that has not been taken yet. That's
going to be the Giants' number 1 wide receiver, and Darius Slayton.
You think Darius Slayton is the number 1 in New York, do you?
Huh?
You think Darius Slayton is the number 1 in New York?
I think at the end of the season. I know. What do you think? You think?
Well, I think about
Taylor
PPR
Shepard.
or half PPR, and there's one wide receiver on the team that just eats it up in that format every year, no matter which team he's on, and that's Golden Tate. You look at when Sterling Shepard came back from his concussion injury, I believe, last year, all the targets started funneling back to him and Golden Tate, leaving Darius Slayton on the outside. That being said, you can never really bank on Sterling Shepard playing a full season. You have Evan Ingram coming back, although you can never bank on Evan Ingram playing a full season. So with that being the case, if that's the case, yeah, I could definitely see Slayton taking over that receiving core. But if everybody's healthy, I personally have a little concern there. I don't know what everybody else thinks or if they want to chime in.
Him and Tate averaged the exact same amount of points per snap last year. Now, granted, that's obviously I'm picking statistics that maybe don't help or try to help the point, but obviously you have to go like Kurt says, sometimes you have to go with your gut.
No, he did show tremendous rapport with Daniel Jones, and that's something that definitely cannot be ignored. I hear you there. Ryan, who are you taking in the 9th round?
This late in the draft to see a wide receiver 1 with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, I'm going to go ahead and grab Brandon Cooks.
Really? Injuries and concussions don't concern you one bit?
Not a fan of Brandon Cooks at all. He's coming in as my 5th or 6th wide receiver. But if he slides into that DeAndre Hopkins role, I just hit a home run in the 9th round. So
nice. Tyson, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and select Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins. Nate, your friend just took Sammy Watkins. What are your thoughts there, Mr. Chiefs fan?
I mean, realistically, there's obviously targets to go around. Watkins, he seemed to, what was it, week 1 when Tyreek Hill went down, blew up, had glimpses here and there. I mean, I'm a fan. I personally, from a non-fantasy perspective, I'm not a big fan of the signing. I think they could have allocated the money elsewhere. But overall, I mean, you could do worse in the 9th round than the wide receiver 2 on a pass-heavy team with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
Nice. All right, David, who are you taking?
Well, losing Rob Gronkowski, I'm more devastated one of the guys on The Bachelorette. That being said, there's only a couple of tight ends that I want, and that's Evan Ingram or Hunter Henry. I'm going to take Hunter Henry, even though we don't know what's going on under center there. After that, I feel that the tier slips dramatically.
Your setups for announcing your picks are epic.
The greatest. All
right, Ken, who are you taking, man? And we're on mute again.
You got to give me like a half a second to get to the mute. I'm older and move slower.
Fair enough.
Yes, you only have 8 picks to find the mute button again.
Or maybe just don't mute it.
Shush you. So I'm going with Manuel Sanders. See him having a pretty good year in New Orleans. Gonna have Breeze throwing to him. Had a good second half of the year when he came into San Francisco. I see in a strong offense. He's what, number 2, number 3 receiver in New Orleans. He's gonna get some yards and some catches. I like him in the 9th round.
I don't hate this. You know, he would be the number 2, I believe, wide receiver on that team. I think a lot of hype is surrounding Jared Cook at the tight end position. I don't know if that's necessarily because they didn't have a trusted wide receiver 2 in New Orleans last year or not. You know, with the addition of Tom Brady to that division and the pass-happy nature of that division in the NFC South, I could see Emmanuel Sanders still being able to be somewhat fantasy viable. Not bad, Ken. Not bad.
And even one quick thing. And even if Drew Brees does go down with an injury, well, you got what's his name from Tampa Bay? Oh, Jesus, name. I was about to say Jamarcus Russell for some. Jameis Winston. I was about to say Jamarcus Russell for some strange reason, but
please don't mention that name again.
Ken, you are something. I'll tell you that.
Hey, you know,
Kurt,
I didn't disappoint.
Just real quick point of clarification on the Sammy Watkins pick. The reason Nate wasn't that upset is just because he just became a Chiefs fan last year, so it's still relatively new.
Trash talking. Okay.
As for my pick, I'm just hoping this guy for once in his life can stay healthy. I'm going with Darius Guice.
You know what, Aaron, you and I can both agree. We both hope for the same thing right there.
Hail yeah.
Todd, who are you taking?
I'm glad with the 8th tight end off the board, I can grab Evan Ingram. I mean, he has top 5 tight end potential, and he's probably the best pass catcher on that team, and the red zone target.
Very nice, very nice. David, who are you taking?
I just want to say before this pick that I think there's a lesson to be learned here. If you look at the board, all of the rookies are falling probably farther than they will actually go in a real draft, just because, like I said, the sleeper rankings. So really it just proves if you're in a quick draft like this where it's not a long draft, get ahead in the queue or do your own rankings beforehand so you're not missing out on players who are ranked lower that you would take at a certain spot. With that being said, I'm going rookie CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb totally has an opportunity to be fantasy viable. Look at Randall Cobb, what he was able to do out of the slot last year. You upgrade the talent at wide receiver in that same spot on the field. Totally can see that happening. And very good addressing the wide receiver position on your team, because up until then you only had 2. Not bad. Aaron, who are you taking in round 9?
6 of the last 7 years, this guy was in the top 28 in standard leagues, so didn't even need the PPRs, didn't even need the points per reception. His quarterback's gone. He's in Tampa. I have no idea, no clue who's going to be the quarterback in New England, but I do know that Bill Belichick's still the coach. He's still going to find a way to get Julian Edelman the ball.
Julian Edelman. Boom.
You know, we're talking about learning points, right? I'm typically in a lot of 12-man leagues, and in a 10-man league, the one thing I've realized through this process is how deep the wide receiver pool is here, that you can get steals in the 9th and 10th round. The real workhorse running backs, damn, you got to get them quick. They go fast. So right now, you're not really getting any gem sleeper running backs. You know, but yeah, that being said, you could probably get a wide receiver 1 in the 10th, 11th, 12th round based on what we're looking at available, right?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the board right now, that makes a lot of sense. Jeremy, who are you taking? 9, 10.
For those on video, will have seen me just wildly flail almost as much as I did before. Great pick, Aaron. I think there's a tier break here now at tight end. Huge second half of the year. I think he keeps going even to 2 tight end sets. I'm going to take myself and Tyler Higbee here.
Tyler Higbee, he came on strong with the Rams towards the end of the season last year.
And I know I probably should get more running backs in here, but I am not loving the board that's staring me in the face. So, you know what? I'm going to double up. I'm going to double up on rookie running backs, and I'm going to take who I will think will overtake Ronald Jones and Keshawn Vaughn.
All right. Aaron, who are you taking at 10-2?
So I debated this guy when I took the Edelman pick. I'm gonna go with another wide receiver, super talented, draft skills, not necessarily what's going to happen. You can't figure that out. No idea who the quarterback's going to be for the Chargers, but 49 catches last year, he had over 1,000 yards and only 2 touchdowns. That's Mike Williams. This guy is like super athletic beast. He's only 24 years old. He's ready for a huge bust out here at some point. If he ever finds a connection with Tyrod or Herbert, whoever the quarterback is there, this guy could have a real monster season.
Not to mention Keenan Allen is set to be a free agent, I think, either next year or the year after. So they probably want to find out what the hell they have in Mike Williams and feature him a little bit more in that offense. That makes a lot of sense. David, who are you taking?
Honestly, I think I should rename my team Rookie Fantasy World. Jalen Reagor.
I mean, he is. I know what Ryan said that he grabbed the number 1 wide receiver in Philadelphia, but I mean, Reagor technically is the one that's, I believe, the healthiest currently. So, we'll see. Todd, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and go with Sonny Michel. I really don't like doing it, but with the rookie quarterback and Jarrett Stidham, they're going to run the ball, and he'll pound the rock for him.
And you look at Sonny Michel's productivity last year, the offensive line took a huge hit for the Patriots. He couldn't really create any yards after contact. But then once that offensive line started to solidify, you saw a little bit better production. They didn't really do anything in the offseason to address the running back position. I mean, volume is going to be there. He definitely got volume last year, a little in the ways of production, but the volume was there. I agree that that's a solid pick right there. Kurt, who are you taking?
I like where my team's at so far, so I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. I am shocked that he's still there. Nice pick right there. Ken, who are you taking?
Okay, for the same reason that I took OBJ earlier, I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to take Austin Hooper in Cleveland. Is a revamped offense, or at least going to be an even better offense. And you don't sign a tight end to a 4-year, $42 million contract if you're not going to get the ball to him.
So, David Abraham, I want to bounce this question off of you now. Austin Hooper was really good in the Falcons offense last year. He goes to Cleveland. You insert Hayden Hurst from Baltimore, who is now the tight end in Atlanta. Is it a case of system, or is it a case of talent with Austin Hooper, in your opinion? Meaning, does he translate that talent and what he was able to do in Atlanta over to Cleveland, or is it one of those things where he was better off in Cleveland than he would be elsewhere?
I personally don't, and I hate to use a cliche, but there's too many mouths to feed there, and especially with Chubb and Hunt there. You've got 2 incredible receivers in Jarvis and OBJ. I can't see him being the number 1 guy for Baker Mayfield. So will he do okay? Maybe, but I'm seeing 30 yards and maybe a touchdown every 2 or 3 games.
All right, now you have the pick. Who are you taking?
All right. Well, this guy's probably going to get as much usage as a toy made in China, but I'm going with the new number 1 wide receiver in Houston, and that is Will Fuller. I'm crossing my fingers that he's used this COVID-19 time to I guess get healthy. But when healthy, this guy is a monster.
Wait a second. Wait for it. He just hurt his hamstring again.
There it is. He just heard this right there.
Yeah. Tyson, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and select Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy, Denver Bronco rookie wide receiver. All right. Ryan, who are you taking?
Half-point PPR, and I love running back depth, James White.
You can't ignore James White. As much as people want to, he is, with Julian Edelman as the number 1 target, and White is right there with him. That makes a lot of sense.
Great pick, 10th round. Great pick.
Thank you.
Nate Markham, who are you taking in back-to-back picks?
My first one is going to be a wide receiver from a Offense, I'm not the most thrilled about, at least ran, but he's a PPR monster, at least as far as receptions. Jamison Crowder.
Thank you. That's the other wide receiver I was thinking. I'm actually a huge fan of Jamison Crowder.
Wait, you're excited about that?
Oh, I love Jamison Crowder.
Then I take the pick back. How do you cancel?
You cannot take the pick back. I'm sorry.
Shit.
Who are you taking at 11-1, sir?
If we can take picks back, I got a pick that I want to take back too. So,
you know, as much as I love the pick of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I got to think that maybe Damian Williams, considering he should be in Super Bowl MVP, might have something to say about that. So I'm going to just take the chance that maybe CEH doesn't actually overtake that. And there you go. My newly fandom and KC pick for you, Kurt. Congratulations.
That makes a lot of sense at this point in the draft. I mean, there is a lot of hype with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but what if he does not pan out to be the guy? And Damian Williams is sitting here in the 11th round. Not a bad pick. Ryan, who are you taking?
In the 11th round, everybody loves his weapons. The same thing happened to Jameis last year. I'll grab Tom Brady.
Boom. Love it. Tyson, who are you taking?
I'm going to go ahead and take Alexander Madison.
Some insurance there for the Dalvin Cook owner. If this is a real league, I'm pretty sure you'd be receiving a trade offer from somebody who has Dalvin Cook just in case. David Ibrahim, who are you taking? You're there, David.
Gotcha. Sorry, my bad. Going with the guy who I think is still going to be the number one on the team. That's downtown Johnny Brown. I know Diggs is there, but the guy's still a deep threat, and excited to have him on the team.
Well, you got too bad because you selected to kill Harry instead.
Oh, sorry. I'll take that. That's fine.
Well, Ken, who are you thinking about taking now?
well, I was looking at other things, but now that John Brown was somebody did a really good reference on him a few seconds ago. So, how could I pass that up?
Another lesson to be learned here from this draft: there are no friends. So, in drafting, at least. Kurt, who are you taking?
I'm excited for this pick because I think this wide receiver is going to take a huge step forward this year. Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Todd, who are you taking?
I'm sad I got sniped on John Brown. That's a great pick. But I'm going to go ahead and fill my QB need and take Josh Allen, top 5 quarterback last year. His rushing ability and his ability to score touchdowns just kind of puts him up there with some of the best in fantasy.
I mean, he's being surrounded by a plethora of weapons to throw to. I mean, if this is the year to take a jump, this is definitely it for him, I believe. David Gutierrez, who are you interested in taking? Let me guess, a rookie.
No, actually, no. I heard QB and I went, uh-oh, he's taking my guy. Guess not. I'm going Carson Wentz.
Pennsylvania is off the board. All right, Aaron, who are you taking? Is Aaron there? I think, Aaron, we lost Aaron.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Who are you taking?
I'm gonna go with Golden Tate.
All right, Golden Tate. Golden Tate. Boom, there we go, Golden Tate. Jeremy, who are you taking?
I'm taking who I think is still the last starting running back left on the board. Boring old Jordan Howard.
Great pick.
I love that. That's good. You don't think the addition of Matt Breida is going to do anything to really curtail his value in Miami?
Oh, it certainly will, but in the 11th round, I'm okay with it. Just to get some other running backs on my board is really what I'm getting at here. And then for my next pick, I'm actually going to pretend like this is a real league, and I'd love to play with all of you someday. I'm going to take my insurance for Joe Mixon and take Giovanni Bernard.
Ooh, when Gio is on the field and Mixon's not there?
Yeah, he showed he was productive when Mixon wasn't there. He slid right in, and I think Zach Taylor will use him as such.
And they paid him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the chance that Mixon actually does hold out? I mean, are we thinking he's going to
really actually pull away?
Firm? Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
While nothing is going on, it's so hard to make a judgment call on that.
it'll be real interesting to see if he's willing to put his money where his mouth is. So,
And actually, on that point, Ryan, another thing I don't think we've mentioned on this draft, something for people to think about when you're drafting later. Who knows when we're going to be able to have people like new, not just rookies meeting with their teams, but free agents that are new on teams coming in and assimilating and learning the playbook. I mean, yeah, they can do this Zoom like we are, but I mean, that might actually have a real impact, particularly on the early weeks of the season. So be careful to, make sure you're getting some bets on teams in addition to the shiny new objects in new teams.
Very good point. All right, Aaron, who are you taking at 12-2?
Yeah, so the Seattle backfield is one that you want to have a piece of if you can find the guy that's going to be healthy and running the football. That's what they do. That's what they do best. So I'm going to take a chance on the guy that might start the year on the PUP, and I'm going to go with Rashad Penny.
That is not the Seattle running back I thought you were going to go after. The thing is, David Gutierrez, you're picking next. I'm curious as to whether or not you're going to take a gamble on the Seattle running back, and you know who I'm talking about.
Are you talking about DJ Dallas? That's way too early for me. No, not a chance. I don't like having three guys on the same team here, but I always try and draft best player available because I got a plan. Like I'm going to trade. I'm not thinking my team's going to stay the same the whole year. And I'm just looking for upside here late, thinking if I could get a guy league winner, if anything ever happens to Zach Ertz, I think Dallas Goedert, he could become a huge asset real quick.
Yep.
Todd?
I'm going to go ahead and end the disrespect to Kerryon Johnson.
Everyone's scared to take him.
You just disrespected yourself.
Yeah, after he went in on him.
You know what? At the 12.4 pick, who's technically the current starter on the team,
yeah,
I'm not going to hate it.
No. I stand by the fact Jordan Howard is the last remaining starting running back here.
I got your back, Todd. Kurt?
We'll go War Eagle, baby. War Eagle.
I'll take that Seattle running back with Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, my goodness.
Nice.
The Carrio chicken.
Wow. Curveball.
Ken, who are you taking?
And Marshawn Lynch has been taken, Ken.
Damn.
How cool was his take care of your chicken?
Ken, you there?
All right. Yeah, I'm here. All right. This stuff's really tough here. All right. So, open the wrong screen.
Wow.
I'm telling you. All right. So at this point,
man of the people.
Yeah, it's always fun watching me draft, I'll tell you. I'm going to go with the backup in New Orleans. I'm going Latavius Murray.
I mean, when Kamara was out, he was a monster last year.
Yep.
David Ibrahim, who are you going with?
Going with a guy who I think has good second-year upside, and I need some assurance seeing that Hunter Henry, I'm a little bit uncertain who's under center, so I'm going with Noah Fant.
Noah Fant. All right, second-year tight end. Hopefully he can build that rapport with Drew Lock. Tyson, who are you going with?
I'm actually going to go ahead and draft Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan, your second quarterback. Okay. Why Matt Ryan, just out of curiosity?
Sure. Aaron Rodgers is a little long in the tooth, so I do get concerned a little bit about that. So I just kind of like to have a little insurance plan.
I mean, that makes sense. To be honest, you're probably going to be swapping in Matt Ryan for Aaron Rodgers more often than not, just because of the weapons in Atlanta versus what you have in Green Bay. That's a solid backup quarterback pick, I think, right there. Ryan, who are you taking?
Lottery ticket time, and I don't know that there's a better lottery ticket than the first wide receiver from the NFL draft.
There you go. Henry Ruggs going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Nate Markham, you got back-to-back picks. Who are you taking first, my friend?
I am going to back up Kyler Murray for the 2 games, which is in week 1 also where he plays San Francisco with Matthew Stafford. As long as I can get to my app to do that, I'm sorry. A la Ken. No offense, Ken. And then with my second pick.
Happens.
I know, man.
It's giving you time to change your mind and take Drew Brees.
Right. I actually almost did, but I'm not going to do both. It's crazy.
I actually do really like Stafford this year. I agree. I would have taken Brees, but I think Stafford is a phenomenal late round QB pick.
And then my one of my favorite, I think my only rookie, which is not uncommon for me, is Justin Jefferson. I know there's not the most balls to be had there, but I do like. Is he not? I don't see him in here.
You
How's
gotta
he not
search
in?
for him.
I did. That's why I just did search.
In the search bar.
I'm in the search bar.
He's number 518.
There he is. Wow. Seems like a solid pick. Thanks, Sleeper.
Are you sure you don't want to take Antonio Brown? I think he's 24.
He's picked. Yeah, no kidding. I thought that was A.J. Brown. I was like, man, why is he still available?
Mm-mm. All right, Ryan, who are you taking now?
No harm in getting a piece of the San Francisco backfield, Tevin Coleman.
There you go. Tyson, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Sterling Shepard.
Let me tell you, if he can stay healthy, that's a very solid pick right there.
Damn.
Can't agree with that.
I got off of mute just for that, by the way.
Yeah, good job. David Ibrahim, who are you taking?
Just in case anything happens to my homies, I'm getting some insurance.
Yes.
There you go. Ryan, I take it you approve of that pick?
So just to go back a couple of rounds, when I took Tom Brady, there were 3 of us who needed quarterbacks, and there were only 2 quarterbacks I wanted, Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Brady statted out as my QB6, so I grabbed him. I did not expect to see Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, and Matt Ryan all go if I could have got Drew Brees rounds later. Brees is going to be so good if he's healthy. It's such a good pick this late in the draft, and I'm seeing him that late in every draft. I know this is a mock draft. QB late is becoming more and more of a thing. So when you go into your draft and you're so comfortable with taking a QB early, don't be afraid to wait and grab a guy like Tom Brady and Drew Brees in a redraft league because they're going to win you your league. It's very good value right now.
Yeah, I think Bob Lung, when he was on the podcast, called it the old man quarterback strategy.
Yes.
Aaron, you did work with Bob Lung and his consistency guide. You would agree that Drew Brees was a solid pick right there?
Old man quarterbacks. Beautiful thing.
Nice. Ken, who are you taking?
Okay, so at this point in the draft, what I did notice is that I have not taken a giant yet. That's another reason why I was very upset about Sterling Shepard. And I swear if I don't take a giant somewhere here, I'm going to get a lightning bolt from somebody struck through my window. So with all the offensive players being taken, somebody's got to give them the ball. My man, Daniel Jones.
Well, let me touch on something you just mentioned right there. That's another aspect of fantasy football. Like, we can take it as seriously as we possibly can, but let's remember this is a game and this is fun. And just because maybe your real life football team doesn't have a lot of fantasy viable stars on it, doesn't mean you're
Hell yeah.
that you cheer on. Kurt, who are you taking?
A lot of offense in Kansas City, so I'll take a shot on Mecole Hardman.
Very nice. Todd?
I'm going to start stacking up on running backs. I'm going to go with Darrell Henderson Jr.
Ah, dang it.
Well, I feel better now that Aaron was going to snipe me than I don't have to say anything. I think
Yeah.
someone like Darrell Henderson. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, who was last year's J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift? I mean, we forget about this guy so quickly. We forget about a lot of these guys so quickly. And he could very easily be the starting running back for the Rams.
Nice.
22 years old. Tons of talent.
David
A lot of
Gutierrez?
health concerns last season.
Right. David Gutierrez?
I'm taking the fastest player in the NFL according to Next Gen Stats from 2019. Fastest player, Matt Breida.
Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous the number of runs and the speed he had last year going to Miami. Even if they have Fitzmagic, if they insert Tua, that running game is going to be pretty featured. It's going to be featured pretty well, I believe, taking the pressure off of the rookie. All right, Aaron, who are you taking in round 13?
Yeah, I took a tight end early, and usually I don't do a double tight end, but when you invest early in the draft and you can't let the whole draft ride on just one tight end here. If you think that, if you go early and get Kelsey and get Kittle, you need to not be the guy who's scrounging on the waiver wire like everybody else is for a tight end. So I'm going to back up Kittle with your boy, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, big fan of Mike Gesicki. All right, Jeremy, who are you taking with your second to last pick?
Second to last pick, I like to try and take some people in the back end here where I don't mind dropping these guys week one if it looks like it's just not something that's going to happen. So I'm going to take as my first pick here, Reichwell Armstead. I think we're going to know right away, is Fournette done? Are they going to do something else here? If not, if it's Fournette's game, I can drop him week one and move on. I don't care at the end of this draft. Love you all, but I don't care about my last two picks. And then for the last one, I think for my last pick here, I'm going to take almost a little bit of insurance on Devonta Parker with a guy who killed it last year until he got injured, and that's Preston Williams.
Love the Preston Williams pick. A lot of people forget about what he was able to do before he got injured. Aaron, who are you taking with your last pick?
17 seasons, 100 targets every single year. Give me Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Legend in the desert. Love it. All right. David Gutierrez, who are you taking for your last pick?
I'm thinking the same thing as him. I'm like, Arizona wants to throw the ball. Tempted to take Teddy Bridgewater here, second quarterback, but I think anything happens to Hopkins or Fitz. Fitz is getting old. I mean, he's still durable, but Christian Kirk.
Nice. Todd, who are you taking for your last pick?
Give me some Curtis Samuel. I know they just got Robbie Anderson, but they use Curtis Samuel in a bunch of different ways with some jet sweeps and that kind of stuff. He's going to see the ball next year.
That's a very good point. And if for some reason they work Curtis Samuel into the slot, even though DJ Moore is, I believe, projected to be in that position, that can only help him given the quarterback situation there in Carolina. All right, Kurt, who are you taking with your last pick?
Well, I got David Johnson in Houston, and if he's not going to be healthy, I might as well take a shot at Duke Johnson at the last pick.
There you go.
Love it. Love that pick. Ken, who are you taking with your last pick?
Okay, so I'm going to follow the advice of Aaron with scrounging for tight ends, and you don't want to do it. I'm going to go Jared Cook, New Orleans.
All right. David Ibrahim, who are you taking?
I'm doing this purely to have a bit of fun with Ryan and upset him here, but I'm taking his boy, guy who's got a poster on his wall.
Love it.
Top 10.
Blake Jarwin off the board. All right.
Ryan believes he's going to be a top 10 tight end this year. I think that might be the case. I mean, he's got a good quarterback, good O-line. Might be a solid pick. You never know.
You never know. Ryan, who are you taking with your last pick?
I'm not up yet, but Tyson, who are you taking with your last pick?
Thank you. Tyson.
Last pick of the draft, I like to obviously take some chances as well. I'm fully aware that this player isn't signed with anybody yet, and may not be, but it's an easy enough drop if so. I'll take LaShawn McCoy.
All right. Now, Ryan.
I so thought you were going to say Antonio Brown. Oh, man.
Did somebody pick Antonio Brown with their last pick? It's either Ryan or Nate.
It's not me. Normally, I would also say gamble on your last pick, but there's a player left who's had over 100 targets for the last 2 seasons. So I'm going to add Tariq Cohen as my final draft pick.
Solid pick right there. Solid pick.
And
Mr. Irrelevant, Nate Markham, who are you taking?
it was supposed to be Tariq Cohen, but I'll switch over to target monster still. I have a ton of wide receivers late. Makes me really regret the Justin Jefferson, but I think Cole Beasley, even with the addition of Diggs there, still should see a hefty share of targets. And again, 14th round, you can drop him if you really. I'm not gonna play him that often.
So, truth be told, we had Dave Richard on talking about underrated and overrated wide receivers, and one of my underrated wide receivers was Cole Beasley. That average depth of target for Josh Allen, not really big. Cole Beasley, middle of the field, short to intermediate passes, match made in heaven. Love that. I love both those last 2 picks. And with that concludes our mock draft today, folks. I want to thank everybody for participating. I had a great time. Throughout the summer, we're going to be pumping out more mock draft videos. We'll include some IDP players in there, here and there. I know, Ryan, like you mentioned, for the fantasy footballers, you write a lot about defensive special teams. We'll start including that content in here. Everybody, thank you very much for participating. This was a great time. So Jeremy, you can find him at the JNobs, Priest for Fantasy and Frames. Ken, Fantasy FB Ken1 on Twitter. Todd, great having you on board here talking about this. Hopefully we get some baseball content for you to do. If not, there's plenty of football to talk about. Nate, glad you made it home in one piece and we're able to enjoy the rest of the draft. Aaron, as always, you're one of the staples here at Fantasy and Frames. Much appreciated. David Gattieri, thank you very much for coming on board and doing this draft with us. Catch all of his work also at Guru Fantasy World. Follow him on Twitter at Guru Fantasy World, WRLD. Guru Fantasy WRLD. Brian Weiss, excellent work at the Fantasy Footballers. Thank you very much for joining. David Ibrahim, love everything at Fantasy Go. Can't wait to contribute as one of the analysts there this year. Kurt, Tyson, gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I think all of us here really appreciate having some fans come on board and really just test their knowledge and really just gain some insight. And if we did something to help you learn how to approach drafting better, or those who are watching on this stream or video rather, gain something out of that, we all did our jobs today. So thank you very much for being on board with us, and we'll catch you next time, folks.